Welcome to Dividing in Decimals. Okay, there are two ways often you see division written. 9.6 divided by 3, or it's also seen as 9.6 divided by 3. Okay? So, how do we do this? Well, how many times, this means how many times is 3 going to 9.6, or 9.6? When you're dividing decimals, you want this to be a whole number. It is right now, so I don't have to worry about it. This number underneath the bracket can be a decimal, no problem at all. In fact, it's kind of nice because this means that the decimal is going to be right here in my final answer. So then I go about my regular division. How many times does 3 go into 9? It goes in 3 times. No remainder. How many times does 3 go into 6? Twice. So my answer is 3.2. Straightforward. Now what if this was a decimal? So 152.34 divided by 0.6. This is the same as saying how many times does 0.6 go into 152.34. Now, in order to make this an integer, you want this to be an integer. When you have to remember that when you multiply by 10, when you multiply any number by 10, you move the decimal once to the right. In other words, 6 times 10 equals 60. I move the decimal from here to here. 60 times 10 equals 600. I move the decimal from 60 to there. Conversely, when you divide by 10, you do the same thing, but we'll look at that a little bit later. So if I multiply this whole fraction by 10, denominator by 10, then the numerator by 10, look what happens. I really only multiplied by 1. 10 divided by 10 is 1. So I multiply the denominator by 10, and my decimal moves once to the right. I multiply my numerator by 10, it moves to the right. I'm going to do the same thing over here. Now I have to warn you that when you do this, do not try and do your work after you've done the arrows. Rewrite it. Take the 3 seconds it takes to rewrite this. 6 into 1,523.4. Okay? Now you say, okay, how many times does 6 go into 15? It goes in twice. 3 remainder. Oh, you might not do the short division. I'll do the long division. 2 times 6 is 12. The remainder of 3. Bring down the 2. 6 times 5 is 30. Bring down the 3. Now look at this. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to put the decimal right there. Now remember, it makes a big difference where you put these numbers. You put the number on top of the last digit you're looking at. I'm looking at 3 here, so the number that I multiply 6 by is going to go right there. 6 times 4 is 24. That's too big. 6 times 3 is 18. Make that a 1. What did I just say? Oh yeah, 18 is okay. So I have a remainder of 5. Bring down the 4. 54, it divides in perfectly. 6 times 9 is 54. So my answer is 23.59. Okay? If you were doing it, I know in Quebec we call it the French way. Actually, this makes a lot more sense sometimes. 1523.4 divided by 6. So you say how many, it's very similar. How many times does 6 go into 15? It goes in twice. 2 6s are 12. 3, same thing, you bring the 2 down. Then we have a 5, 6 5s are 30. Bring down the 2, bring down the 3, excuse me. And then 3 6s are 18. 3 6s are 18, then I have the 5. Now look at this. I got to the 3, okay? Then this is the only little funny part with the decimal. I got to the 3. As I got to the 3, that's the last number before the decimal. So now I have to put the decimal in because I'm looking at the 4. As soon as I bring down the 4. Okay, 6 times 9 is 54. 235.9. Okay, either one works. It depends on what you're most comfortable with. Learning this method often helps with math a little bit later, but I'm okay whichever one you use. Okay, so using the same method, Using the same method, let's take a look at this one. 301.25 divided by 6.4, so that is, how many times is 6.4? Go into 301.25, move the decimal. I want this to be an integer. Once to the right, I'm multiplying both by 10. But rewrite it. Take the time. It seriously makes a difference. It reduces error and makes it much neater. 3012.5. Now I just go through the motions. Put the decimal right up here. That's often the easiest thing to do. Now 64 goes into 3, not at all. I'm putting a 0 here just so you don't make a mistake as to where you put your digits. 64 does not go into 30. 64 does go into 301. How many times does it go into? Let's take a look at 4. 4 looks about right. 4 fours are 16, carry 1. 4 sixes are 24, 25. Make this a 29. We have 5, 4. There, 45. Okay, does 64 go into 45? Hold on, we have to bring down the 2. Okay, how many times does 64 go into 452? It goes in 7 times. 4 sevens are 28. 6 sevens are 42, 44. 5 becomes a 4, so now we have 4. So let's see where our decimal place ended up. Bring down the 5. Sorry, I don't mean to be doing this whole thing in red. It's just the way it's working out. Bring down the 5. Does 60 go into 45? No. Now you might be asking yourself the question, how far do I have to go? Well, here's the thing. If you are rounding to the nearest hundredths, you actually have to go to the next place in order to round. You have to go to the 1000th place, which is the third decimal place, the third place past the decimal, to the right of the decimal. Okay, so we have to keep on going basically. So we brought down the 5, it went in 0 times. Now you remember you add a 0 onto the end. Bring down the 0. Oh, this is convenient. It looks like it goes in 7 times, which gives me 448. We'll adjust that other one in a minute. 448, that gives me 2. Bring down another 0, 20. 64 does not go into 20. I don't have to go any further though, at all, because I already know that I just have to go the nearest 1000th place. Okay, that's all I have to go to, right to here, and then I round this. This stays a 7. So my answer is 47.07. That's it. Okay, now let's look at the bottom part. Okay, what about very large numbers? Similar idea. But look at this. We can make life a little easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. 7, 1, 2, 3, 5 zeros. What happens if I divide by 10? If I divide by 10, I move the decimal once to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look, I can cancel these. And I end up with 3, 5, 2 divided by 7. 7 into 3, 5, 2. 7 5s are 35. 7 1s are 7. 4 remainder. Decimal goes here. Bring down the 40. 7 5s are 35. And you keep on going. 51.5.